Feeling good, feeling great. Feeling great, feeling good. How are you? Welcome into Timeline T. I am your host, the Sam D, aka Sam Smith Jr. Oh, the madness is upon us. The madness is upon us. How many of y'all brackets are already done? Virginia goes out to Furman, of all teams, if you haven't heard, if you're not hip. Boom, getting to the screen early. There it is, upset. Furman, 13 seed over Virginia by 1 point. It was a very exciting finish as we had the Virginia was being trapped on the inbounds and nothing like they had never seen a trap before. And they just threw the ball away, just chucked the ball, trying to get out of that trap, just chucked the rock. And it went into the hands of Furman. They kicked it out for an open three. Three was cash money, and Furman advances. Amazing. So we'll come off that. But as you see here, this is Timeline T. This is a stream where I take all the latest news and notes from the NBA, NFL. As you see today, sometimes even some college, whatever seems to be pertinent. I take that information and I, set it up here, get some tabs open, and we discuss the tea, the news, the notes, the innuendo. We've been doing a lot of stuff with NFL free agency this entire week, but now that's kind of slowed down, we got the Aaron Rodgers stuff out the way for the most part yesterday. Still no actual deal, but he at least has made public his intentions to want to be a New York Jet. But now we're getting back into some NBA stuff. NBA kind of took over, and Ja Morant did an interview. You see that there on the topic bar, so we will get to that. Giannis talked about the MVP, and it was a very interesting conversation on what Ja said about the MVP, and not just whether he should be MVP, but just the overall criteria for what makes someone pick and vote for an MVP. We'll get there. And then lastly, or firstly, on the topic bar anyway, the Los Angeles Lakers. They made a lot of deals during the trade deadline, and it wasn't the sexiest of moves, and bringing in D'Angelo Russell, Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley, and then later on with Mo Bamba. But those moves have kind of reinvigorated that roster. It's reinvigorated LeBron. AD, they're trying to manage, load manage him for the rest of the regular season, as they know they need him for sure to be as close to 100% as they can in the upcoming playoffs. But there's a lot to decipher there because they were supposed to get Kyrie. It's been one of the worst kept secrets that Kyrie was trying to find his way to go team up with Bron again. It didn't happen. The Brooklyn Nets, Joe Tsai, that front office in Brooklyn, wanted no parts of giving in to what Kyrie wanted, so they shipped his ass to Dallas instead. So everyone was like, well, that's kind of an L for the Lake Show, but these pieces that have been in on this trade, Vanderbilt especially, but Beasley as well, when the shots falling, they have been seamlessly. And D'Lo, even though he missed some time, he's come back with a vengeance. And if you have to pick a free agent point guard to re-up right now, from all reports, it's looking like the Lakers will indeed choose D'Angelo Russell over Kyrie Irving. So that's kind of the menu. That's kind of the layout of what we have here today on Timeline T. The comment section is always open. Feel free to tap in. If there's any breaking news or anything that's happened on the fly, please tap in and let me know. Last week we had the Bears traded the number 1 overall pick that came here live in real time here on the streams. We were able to, dissect that instantaneously. So that's what I would like for this stream to kind of be, where I pick out some stuff, I give y'all that, y'all give me some feedback, and if there's something coming down the timeline on y'all end, let me know. I could jump in on timeline myself, and then we could go back and forth. So that's kind of where I've kind of, envisioned this going. But right now, let's start with your man's Kyrie. The Los Angeles Lakers are playing really well, and they look like they're having fun. Even with LeBron being out, they're still getting W's and W's that matter. And that's something where early in their season that was not happening. When it was just AD, they played well, but he had to play like Super Saiyan. He had to go crazy for them to continuously get W's during that stretch. Well, now with, again, no Bron, and AD being in and out of the lineup, being load managed, he doesn't play back-to-backs, so on and so forth, the Lakers have had to depend on these new Lakers, and they have been stepping up. And D'Angelo Russell, more so than any of the others, I mean, outside of, I guess, Jared Vanderbilt, because he's been more available, they've been playing really well. Despite the L they took last night, they've been playing really well. They had no AD last night, so no AD, no Bron, took the L, but it's all good because right now, when you look at the plan right here, the Los Angeles Lakers reportedly plan to run their current roster back in the 2023-24 season and reportedly won't pursue star guard Kyrie Irving in the offseason. That's humongous news. Like, I don't know because again, Kyrie is sitting out there in Dallas. You know, we had the video of him in a Sherpa onesie with the organic Negro hat, Negro with a W, you know, bemoaning sports and basketball and the lack of purity in the game and just kind of airing out being disgruntled, you know, in essence of being misunderstood and so on and so forth. So it's just like, all right, well, he doesn't even want to be in Dallas. Then, all right, it seemed like the Lake Show is going to be a layup of a move in the offseason. Not so fast. Now, this is reporting that's been done by The Athletic. From what I've been told, they're not going to be pursuing Kyrie Irving this offseason. To my knowledge and to what I've been told, the Kyrie ship, I think, has sailed. You never want to say never. That could easily change. But as of right now, their plan is to run this team back. Now, again, we're not even talking about Rui Hachimura and that move earlier before the trade deadline. All these Lake Show pieces have been able to, you know, gel. And, you know, one thing I've talked about is that the Lake Show really just got better from, you know, addition by subtraction. No Russell Westbrook. Let him go figure that out with the Clippers. And low-key he has as of late. You know what I'm saying? But in terms of just, it wasn't going to fit with the Lakers. It just wasn't, right? Cool. Get him out of there. You bring in D'Lo, better fit, better chemistry. He's coming in with some of his teammates, so the chemistry was a little bit easier there to get going. Now you're talking about when we look at Pat Bev. Pat Bev, I mean, look, he's breaking more headlines with his podcast than his play. Okay, he's reached that point in his career where the pod is more important than what he's putting out there on the floor. So we know what that is. So addition by subtraction, get him about the paint. Okay. Then you have the disease of me, Thomas Bryant, who was clamoring for more buckets, for more touches, wanted more run. Even though he was getting every spot start when AD was being load managed, that wasn't enough for him. He wanted more run. So they got Thomas Bryant up out of there and sent him to Denver. And guess what? Jokic always plays. And you know what else is happening? He's not even backing up Jokic. He's out the rotation. So Mans did all of that. Everyone knows the photo of him posing, trying to get the shot. When LeBron's trying to break the scoring record, he wants to touch down low. Because he's got SGA on him. Mouse in the house. Forget the scoring record. I want this easy bucket. Forget history, Bron. Hit me, I'm open. I got a mouse. I'm in the house. Let me get this easy touch. Get him up out of there. Now he can't even get on the floor for the Denver Nuggets. Anywho. So I think that was more important than the pieces they actually brought in. You know, that's where just getting those guys up out of there and then supplanting those guys with guys who actually want to hoop and can actually hoop at a high level. D'Lo, we know what D'Lo is. He's just been erratic. He's been inconsistent at times, but we know when he's engaged, he can go. Vanderbilt is surprising a lot of people because a lot of people don't watch basketball. Vanderbilt has been this, okay? Malik Beasley, he's a bona fide shooter, been shooting 40+% the last few years. We know what he is. So those pieces they brought in, Mo Bamba, you know, if he can never come back from his injury, I think he was showing some signs of what he could be as a serviceable backup. He's getting the minutes that Thomas Bryant didn't want. But now he's hurt. They haven't gone out and re-signed any bigs, so they're kind of like, you know, doing patchwork in terms of at the 5 right now. But I think from all intents and purposes, Mo Bamba will be able to give you something come playoff time. So we will hit the comments early. I see we got some, so let's go ahead and get some of that out here. So we got Abdiel was good, boy. Back to Brooklyn? I mean, if Kyrie wants to go back to Brooklyn, Brooklyn would never do it, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, that would be interesting to me. That would be hilarious. But I think if Kyrie, if he's smart, he just stays in Dallas. Because where else is there? Because Dallas is forced to prove to Luka they're trying to win. This trade did it, but now they're going to have to continuously keep proving to him that they want to win. So that's going to take another move. And I think the re-signing of Kyrie has to be priority one for the Mavericks, no matter what they do in the playoffs. If they trick it off in the first round, if they make it to the second round, it doesn't matter. I think priority one is re-signing Kyrie Irving, especially if the Lakers are holding firm on this. If they're holding firm on this, then for sure they need to go ahead and make sure they lock up Kyrie, because I don't know where else he goes, to be quite honest with you. I don't know where else he can go. Back to the comments. Kyrie forced his way out of Brooklyn with his bird rights just so LA can sign him. And I mean, I don't think he's going to end up there unless you're talking about the Clippers. I think if he wants to go be a Clipper, I wouldn't be mad at that. I don't know how that works cap-wise. I don't think they got the cap for that. But Ballmer got the bread. He might pay the luxury tax for that. But I think with Kyrie, the options are extremely limited, especially if you thought you were mending fences. Although, look, I said, and maybe this opens the door for this, as I insinuated a few weeks ago, if LA is not an option for Kyrie, if that Phoenix thing don't work, the point fraud's done. So why not find a way to maneuver the point fraud out of there and let Kyrie hoop with KD again in the Valley of the Sun? Kyrie, book, KD. That could be a thing. Like, that to me was one of the first things I thought of when the trade went down. I was like, oh, okay, well, if it doesn't work in Dallas, LA to go team up with Bron, or go wherever KD is. And KD's in Phoenix. But if you read the reports, when Phoenix and Dallas played last week, allegedly KD and Kyrie didn't speak at all on the court. No one knows about behind the scenes, but on the court, little to no communication between the two. Take that for what you will. But I think seeing that the Lakers, and I'll come off the screen here so I can set this up, seeing that the Lakers have been able to go from a 13 seed up to a 9 seed, I think they fell back to the 10 last night with the loss. Pull that up so we can confirm. But I think when it comes to understanding what this Lake Show team could be and understanding what the offseason will look like, if they run this core back, and we're assuming Bron is going to be healthy, and that's not the biggest, that's not the smallest ask in the world at 38 and counting, right? We won't talk about that video and what was insinuated. We won't. I swear. But I mean, 38, 39 years old, year 21, I don't know how much you can expect that man to be able to give you. But when we go to the screen, Lake Show R10 seed. And still, there are only 4 games in the loss column behind the Suns at the 4 seed. So again, you know, I heard LeBron should be back by the first round. You know, there have been some people insinuating the play-in. With the way this thing could go, who knows if the Lakers are even going to be in the play-in. There could be something here with the Lake Show where if LeBron comes back sooner, because he was at shoot-around the other day. The boot is off. He was shooting free throws, and he put that post up of him in the hyperbaric chamber. Yeah, hyperbaric chamber and all of that, and he could be close to returning. And if they could squeeze out some victories, they can jump up to at least, I think, if they could get into this, I still think the target is Memphis. I'm trying to get to 6. I don't want no parts of the play-in if I'm them. Even though Sacramento, no one trusts Sacramento as a real 2 seed, right? Like, we're not here, even though it's all about lighting the beam. I'm all about lighting the beam. But we're not really sitting here saying the Kings are a legitimate 2 seed. Like, if you're a 7 seed, are you really, if the Lakers are 7, if the Kings are the 2 seed, everyone's going to think the Lakers are going to wipe the floor of them, right? But if Memphis, who's been steadying the ship without Ja, if they're able to get to that 2 seed again, I would still want, if I'm the Lakers, I want Sacramento or Memphis. I'm trying to avoid Denver and avoid Phoenix. I want them in the second round. Or if I could get to the 5, nah, you still, depending on how the 4 or 5 goes, maybe you want the Clippers, maybe. But if I'm the Lake Show, I'm targeting Sacramento and Memphis. Line me up wherever they at, and I'll take my chances. I'll deal with Denver in the second round. I'll deal with Phoenix in the second round if they get there, depending on the health of Kevin Durant. So Lakers being out on Kyrie, and you see where Dallas is at the 8th seed, and they just haven't looked good, and both him and Luka have been out. And when you're looking at what Kyrie can still do at this point in his career, I don't want to put people out to pasture, but what I'm going to ask is, how much longer do we think Kyrie is a max player in terms of his ability? How much longer? Because if we're looking at, I mean, he's never played 82 games. That's weird. He's never played 82 games. I've never known that about Kyrie. I mean, the most he's ever played is 75 games, and now it's his 4th year in the league. He hasn't played more than 72 games since. And if you really want to get crazy, he hasn't played more than 67 games in 5 years. At some point, or at what point, do we look at Kyrie Irving and ask the question, can he hold up? We know what his ability is. We'll never question that. At least I will. I will never question that. But in terms of his ability, if you have to re-up him, if you're Dallas and you're trying to sell to Luka, we're serious about winning, is it really re-upping Kyrie Irving? He's an upgrade. He's a name. He'll sell jerseys. But is he actually getting the Mavericks closer to winning a championship? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I think there's a lot left to be desired there in regards to what the Mavericks can get out of Kyrie, but they might just be stuck. They might just be stuck and have to show, a sign of confidence to get a sign of confidence from Luka. They might just have to go ahead and re-up Kyrie Irving. So that's something we want to keep an eye on. Okay, Giannis spoke, and I'll come onto the screen so I can set this up. Giannis had a lot to say, and he had a lot to say not only about the MVP and the voting process, but also, does he care more about a championship or winning an MVP? He compared the winning an MVP better than, in his words, being intimate. Right. So Giannis is more focused on winning a second championship than winning a third MVP. But he asked an interesting question here, and if you read the article on The Athletic, you kind of get more of the context of it, but this is the quote. He wants to know, what is the MVP? Is it the guy who scores the most points? Is it the guy who's most efficient? And he kind of breaks it down to where, in his eyes, for his team, he feels Brook Lopez is the most valuable. But that doesn't make him the best player. He doesn't lead them in scoring. He doesn't lead them in, defensive rating. He doesn't lead them in a lot of these different things. But to him, Brook Lopez is the MVP of their team. So that's what he's trying to figure out. So then what does MVP mean? It has changed over the course of not only his career, but since back in the day. Back in the day, best player on the team with the best record usually gets the MVP by default, unless there's a statistical anomaly that happens, like Russie with the triple-double, or Harden with, just the points per game and the threes and bunches and just the 50, 40, 90 things that he was able to pull off with Houston. That kind of propelled him to finally get that MVP when he probably should have been the MVP the year before when Russie got it. When you talk about what is MVP, what does it mean? You can look at this right here, this next slide. on the left, Giannis stats this season. So 31.5, so 32 points a game, 11.9 boards, has 12 boards, 5.5 assists, that's 6 assists. So 32, 12, and 6. That's this season. What he did during his MVP seasons, he averaged out 29 points, 13 boards, and 6 assists. Very similar numbers. More points per game. Everything else extremely similar, yet by most pundits, he's third in the MVP race so far. When you look at Embiid's numbers, extremely similar to what he's done prior. Jokic's number. Now, Jokic might get him just off the fact that he's got the triple-double hovering. To be a point center and to have a potential triple-double, that's where the Jokic thing might come and get him. I mean, he's giving you 25, and I know that he's very polarizing. The Jokic debate is extremely polarizing, but when you're giving someone 25, 12, and 10 as a center, that's going to be extremely difficult to beat. Extremely. Because that's an improvement. Because he didn't average a triple-double last year. I mean, he's giving you more dimes this year. 27, 8, and 14 last year. Points are down. Boards are around the same. Boards are slightly down, but the assists are up. He's shooting 63% from the floor, 40% from three, although he doesn't shoot a lot of threes, but even when he does it, it's at a 40% clip. So as a big, and he's not the most physical, bruising big that lives inside the paint. Let me see. Can we get his shot chart? Oh, it's going to take me to NBA.com. We don't want that. Let's see. Can we get his shot chart? Because I think there's something like people are really missing when it comes to him. All right. They don't have the shot chart. Oh, yes, they do. Okay. So now here we had the Jokic shot chart. Now, clearly you see a lot of greens in the paint. But let's be clear. Like he's getting shots. He really lives at the top of the key, as you see. Top of the key threes. Like he's really just top of the floor. He doesn't give you a lot of stuff on the baseline. And this is where he flourishes as a point center. Because he's getting a lot of action right here and he could see the entire floor. This is how you get 10 dimes a game. Like if you play 2K, you can like really cheese my career mode. If you have your guard or your play, whatever, just stand at the top of the key and you select the play and let the play run. There usually just plays that are run on the wings, either dribble handoff or screens or pin downs or whatever. You could just stand here and cherry pick wherever the open spot is. I'm not going to deduce Jokic to that, but it's a lot of that. Like it's a lot of that, him standing at the top of the key and trying to figure it out. Who's open? Who's where? All right, you're not open. All right, I'm pulling from three. So he takes the bulk of his threes are from the top. The bulk of his jump shots are from the top. The bulk of his buckets in the paint are directly in the middle. So it's not like he's working you on the baseline. He's not right or left baseline, dominant. He's middle of the floor dominant because you want to take advantage of his vision. So let's put that in a snapshot, right? Let's put that in a snapshot. Now let's go to Embiid. So the bulk of Jokic's points are in the middle of the floor. Top of the key, top of the three, so on and so forth, right? Okay, so Embiid, leading the league in scoring as of right now, 34 a night, 10 boards, 4 dimes, 54% from the floor on way more shot attempts than Jokic. And Jokic was like 16 shots. Embiid is at 21 shots. And he's shooting worse from three. He takes about one more three than Jokic. And he shoots at the worst percentage. But in terms of making his team win, or the importance of his team winning, I think Embiid is more directly involved in terms of scoring than Jokic. Because clearly Jokic's points has gone down and the Denver Nuggets are a 1 seed. So, but let's look at, I think more importantly, let's look at the shot chart. This is going to be a very basketball nerdy stream, but we here. All right, look at this shot chart. Good Lord. Okay. So Embiid gets a lot of middies. A lot of middies. You see these greens, there's a lot of middies. He's also a lot from the top, but he's got a lot here on the left baseline. So again, but when you're looking at where people get their points from, you had Jokic, who the bulk of his points was top of the three, top of the key, and in the middle, right here, right by the dotted circle, right? For Embiid, though, a lot of baseline action, definitely some points in the paint for sure, but a lot of middies, an extreme amount of middies, not a lot of corner threes, a lot of the same threes in terms of Jokic, a lot of the same threes. So I will give him that, but way more middies than Jokic, way more middies. Interesting. Now, do we even need to do Giannis? Pause. Let's see what we got here. Shot chart. Look at the Giannis shot chart, man. All right, so wow, it's a lot of bricks for Giannis. This is way more reds than greens, bruh. Wait, what's Giannis shooting? Because this is making it look like his shooting is mid. He's shooting 54%, 28% from three. He's got to stop at the threes. Okay, so that's interesting seeing that shot chart. Looking at all of these missed 2-pointers, it's a lot of reds. This is way more reds in the paint than Jokic and Embiid. Is this why, and I don't like to just parse it just to shot numbers, but is this why Giannis isn't in the conversation? If we were to take the screenshot of the 3 shot charts and put them side by side and tell me who's the better offensive player, you're going to choose either Jokic or Embiid. Giannis has by far the worst shot chart. Let's see if we can dissect this. Where is the problems with his shooting? Besides the obvious, shooting from the outside, he's mid. But this is an exorbitant amount of missed shots in the paint for someone like Giannis, who is very much bully balling people. At the rim, he's shooting 78.3%. 3 to 10 feet, 31.7%. So he's shooting under 30. He's shooting 32% from 3 to 16 feet. That's interesting. I wonder, is that a trend? When did he get that last MVP? What year was that? Let's see. This is all on the fly. 2021, right? No, Jokic has won it 2 times. So I got to go one more year. Jokic, so 2020. Shot chart. That year, 43% and 36% respectively. So he shot way better in close. Ugh, this shot chart ain't that much better. This shot chart shows a real lack of efficiency. I might have to do a deep dive on this, because this to me is very interesting, because this shot chart is ugly. But when we looked at the Embiid one, when we looked at the Jokic one, it looked very much similar to how you would imagine their games are. How they look on the court, their shot chart reflects that. Giannis, though, the shot chart does not reflect. Very interesting. I will definitely keep an eye on that. But maybe that's why Giannis is third, and maybe that's why Giannis is out here rather comparing winning a championship to getting a nut off than, worrying about whether he's going to get his third MVP. Interesting stuff there. Let me know in the comments, live or on the replay, if you think Giannis should be legitimately in the conversation. Is he a distant third, or is he actually in consideration to winning his third MVP? It will come off of that. Let's see. So your man's Ja Morant went and spoke to Jalen Rose. They had an interview I didn't learn much from the interview. Josh said everything he was probably obligated to say to make sure that the suspension remains only at 8 games and doesn't go any further. He clarified that the gun was not his gun, which was already reported early in the day before the interview dropped. And I felt like this was a missed opportunity. I felt like this could have been a moment, and maybe it happens behind the scenes, off camera, without us being privy to it. But I felt like Jalen would start off with a good question, but had little to no follow-ups to really dig deeper. And again, understand that the suspension for Ja Morant is only for the strip club incident. It's for none of the other incidents that have been widely reported before the strip club thing even happened. The strip club incident is the last of the incidents. And the NBA has suspended him 8 games for his actions in the strip club, waving the blinky on IG Live. So in this interview with Jalen, they spoke about his stress and anxiety and dealing with that. And he did go to a private clinic in Florida for 10 days. And now he's out. And now he's back to hoop again. I don't know about you, but I know if I had a 23-year-old franchise player, burgeoning superstar, who might have legitimate stress and anxiety issues and maybe allegedly an alcohol issue, I don't know if I would be rushing him back in just 10 days. I don't know how much therapy you can absorb, practice, and master in 10 days. I mean, the first step is always admitting you have a problem, right? But I don't know if that's enough in just 10 days. You're not doing 12 steps in 10 days, no matter what the issue is. So I don't know what's going to happen there with Ja, but the Grizzlies are taking all steps to try to protect Ja from going back to his old ways. So to do that, they're instituting a new rule when they're on the road. There have even been travel measures taken to curtail nightlife habits this season, with the Grizzlies leaving more road cities, especially the glitzier ones, like Miami, immediately after the game instead of staying overnight. So they don't even want to tempt Ja with, the glitz of what Miami, New York, LA, Houston, all the cities that we know, Atlanta, we know all the cities that after the game is the turn up time potentially for some players. So they don't want to involve or put Ja in those types of situations. So they're going to bounce right after the games. That screws up a lot of lives of the other players. Because just because Ja got a problem, I can't go turn up in South Beach now. We all got to bounce because Ja may or may not allegedly have a problem. That's really a humongous sacrifice for one of the younger teams in the league. So the Grizzlies are taking a huge step here in trying to put an environment around Ja that will make him flourish. I think it'll be interesting to see how this actually transpires because, for one, if you're Ja and you're really trying to figure yourself out, 10 days is not enough. So it's almost at the point where is he only going to be able to do like home games? Because this is a humongous sacrifice for an entire team to make. There's been a lot of stuff about mentors and having vets on the team and what Ja needs in his life and family and friends and entourage, so on and so forth. A lot of this stuff is just becoming more and more like we're just going to keep hindering others to make sure that Ja is okay. Now, with all the stuff that we've talked about outside of the strip club, where it's more of player entitlement, does that sound like the right move that the Grizzlies should be doing? This is a guy that has had problems even in Memphis controlling his actions, allegedly. And now we're going to have things where on the road, we're going to put such an environment around him that we're going to make it so he can't even get into trouble even if he wanted to. That's Rodman levels. That's not something I would have thought of with Ja Morant. But with this type of, stipulation being put in where they have to bounce right after road games, that's Rodman-esque. Are we at that point with Ja? And if we're at a point with Ja where you have to put in Rodman-like measures, then how is he able to get out of counseling, rehab, whatever you want to call it, in just 10 days and come back to the team? I think there's something there that needs to be figured out by not only the Grizzlies, but the league. This summer is going to be a huge summer for Ja off the court. There's going to have to be a lot of growth mentally, socially, however else for him. He admitted to being the breadwinner. He admitted to feeling the stress and the anxiety of being a leader, being young with money. He said all the things that pundits have been saying, right? But it's about the actions now. And I don't know if we have to protect him so much that we have to leave road games immediately after games, then what was learned that he's going to be able to practice in what he learned in counseling? I don't know. It's very weird. Extremely, extremely weird. Let me know if there's something on that Ja thing that y'all think is being missed here, because maybe I'm bugging. But I don't see anything, or I haven't seen or heard anything that's come from the Grizzlies or Ja that makes me think they actually do have his best interests at play. I think the Grizzlies have their best interest. They want to see if they can win a championship. I think the league has their best interest because Ja Morant is one of the burgeoning superstars of this league, and they want to showcase him in the playoffs. So yes, we're going to look past all the other stuff that was reported before the strip club incident and only focus on the strip club incident and give him a little pow for that. Very weird. Very weird. And I'll give you one last piece of NBA stuff. The Atlanta Hawks are giving Bogdan Bogdanović a 4-year, $68 million contract extension. I'm only mentioning this because I have no idea why they're doing this. He is old with bad knees. Great shooter when he's healthy, but he's rarely been healthy. And the Atlanta Hawks are a team that I would not be investing anything. They just got Landry Fields into the front office. Former Knick legend Landry Fields is in the front office over there, and this is what we doing? That's a very suspect move. I would not be extending anyone on that roster because I think that roster needs to be overhauled. So the fact that the Hawks are doubling down and giving a 4-year extension to Bogdanović, like that's a sus move to me. That's an extremely sus move to me, and that tells me that they're not that serious about winning. And I've been saying it for years. That team won't be serious about winning until they trade Trae Young. When they trade Trae Young, then I'll take that management, that ownership, and that team seriously. Until then, nope, not getting that out of me. All right, so let's scroll. I'll scroll the NBA timeline real quick just to make sure I'm not missing nothing, but I think that's all we got for NBA. It's a very light day. Everything is focused on March Madness by design. No big upsets yet unless you have Virginia. Took that L to Furman, a 13 beating a 4. Let's see. Mitchell Robinson, he's doing a lot of complaining on Instagram. I'm not sure where that's coming from. Like, yes, I know he hasn't been getting a lot of run. He wants he wants more touches and all of that, and that's cool, but why would any team that wants to win give touches offensively to Mitchell Robinson? I would like someone to explain what are the Knicks missing in not having Mitchell Robinson get touches in the paint? What part of the offense is enhanced by that? I'm definitely not going to make that a topic. I'm just wanted to just get that off because It was on the timeline, and I'm like, Mitch Rob, please, please. So there's been a lot of talk about Scoot Henderson. Blue Check Boys have finally found him. I've been talking about him since last year, but it is what it is. People who watch ball watch ball. People who don't pull up when the masses finally discover him. But there is something to be said of watching March Madness and largely not knowing 99% of these players, but we all know who Victor Wembanyama is. We know who Scoot Henderson is. College basketball, to me, has been dead for a while. March Madness is still a thing. It's exciting. You can place a lot of bets on it, fill out a bracket, all that stuff. But college basketball, March Madness has really dumbed itself down to it's just about your bracket. It's really only about the bracket. Like, if you're a hardcore college basketball fan, you truly are a savant. You really have to commit yourself to being part of this. Like, most people just fly in around this time, fill out a bracket, put a couple of bucks on it at the gig, and you hope you win. You go chalk for the most point on your bracket, and you're expecting to win something, at least be in the mix. But the fact that we know exactly who the G League elite stars are, that's, to me, is very telling. And the whole thing with Brandon Miller and Alabama, that's going to be a thing because he is by far the best player in March Madness. But there's going to have to be a tap dance that's going to have to be done because of all the off-the-court stuff and all the stuff that is pending and is pending legalities around it. So how the network tries to, bounce around that will be a thing to watch because Brandon Miller, he's a problem. If Vic wasn't around, I would say he would probably go 1. If Victor wasn't there, if the anomaly that is Victor Wembanyama, being 7'4", 7'5" in sneakers, has handles, has range. He's a 7'5" shooting guard. If that alien wasn't there, Brandon Miller would probably be the number 1 pick. Although, again, I would still make a strong case for Scoot Henderson because Scoot would fit right in the same mold of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He fits in the same mold of a John Morant. He's of that mold. Big guard, athletic, crazy bunnies, can get to the cup. He can actually play point guard. That, to me, is the enigma of all of it because he's a true point guard. Scoot Henderson is a problem. If you haven't watched anything, after you're done on the stream, stay here on YouTube and go ahead and go down the Scoot Henderson rabbit hole and thank me later. But let's see if we can jump into some NFL stuff. There's some NFL stuff I wanted to touch on. Odell Beckham. How bad do you want Odell Beckham? Because Odell Beckham wants $15 to $20 million a year. So who's going to give Odell Beckham that? Wouldn't be me, although I would understand a team that's close to winning, i.e. the Jets, allegedly, with, the interpretation of Aaron Rodgers wanting to be a Jet or intending to be a Jet. So we have Odell seeking $15 to $20 million a year. He's been putting a lot of workout videos showing that he's still got the explosiveness, that he still could run the clean routes, that he can still catch the rock with one hand. He's doing all the stuff he needs to do to show that he's ready. But what teams are actually interested in him? Well, here we go. The Chiefs, Ravens, and Cowboys have shown interest in signing free agent wide receiver Odell Beckham. Now let's examine these scenarios. The Chiefs have lost Juju Smith-Schuster. I think they were trying to figure out if they wanted to bring back Nicole Hardman. There's been reports that Patrick Mahomes has been hit up by a lot of free agent receivers and receivers that are allegedly available via trade. So everyone's trying to run and go be with Pat Mahomes, right? That's the thing that's happening. If you're Odell, do you want to go with Mahomes? Do you want to go with whatever happens with the Ravens, whether it's Lamar or I don't even know what they would do? They tendered Huntley for the Ravens, but I don't even know if they even want to do that. If I'm Odell, I'm not picking the Ravens unless Lamar's there. Or Dallas. It was rumored he was going to go to Dallas when he was trying to figure out if he could come back at the end of last regular season. Dallas was thought to be a favorite. Now, no Zeke. Tony Pollard, not sure, assuming. There's definitely room for Odell. Who wants Odell? Who's a better fit for Odell? Of these three teams, I would think the Chiefs. Because now you're getting that Tyreek Hill, Kelsey thing going again. I mean, they just want a chip with no true number one. If they could go get Odell and he could be that true number one again, Kelsey's going to be that much more of a monster. Mahomes is going to be that much more better, which is even hard to imagine. But I think the most intriguing one clearly is the Ravens. If the Ravens get it done with Lamar or just keep him on the tag and give him the $32.4 million, I think Odell Beckham with Lamar Jackson, it would be a true testament of, okay, Lamar, here's a piece now. Still got Mark Andrews. Still got the bruising running game. New OC. But, now we're giving you Odell. Now it's Odell off of 2 back-to-back injuries. Older Odell. So this is kind of what they try to do with Des Bryant, what they try to do with Sammy Watkins. They've given him a lot, Deshaun Jackson. They've done a lot of older receivers at the back half of their career with Lamar. I think if they're able to go get Odell, he will be the best of that bunch and has the most left of that bunch. So I would be interested. I would be intrigued if the Ravens do go get Odell Beckham. And then the Dallas one is kind of like, he would play opposite CeeDee. That'll be interesting to see how they use him. I would be all three of these possible landing spots are all intriguing, but I think the one that makes the most sense is the Chiefs. The one that's the most dynamic could be the Cowboys because that offense could put up points. But the one that would be the most of a win now thing, like this thing has to work right now, I think would have to be the Ravens. Because the Ravens are on the clock no matter what they do with Lamar. If they bring him back on the franchise tag, you assume they're going to do that this year and next year. So they really only have 2 years left before they have to pay him. So if that's going to be the case, then you really only have a 2-year window left with Lamar Jackson. So now you're in the ready win now mode. So that would be the most win now mode to me, would be the Ravens for Odell Beckham. And as we get close to wrapping it up here, Aaron Rodgers. Now, this headline is very interesting to me because it references something that doesn't get brought up a lot. In 2021, Aaron Rodgers played a game of semantics with an I word. Could he now be doing it again with the word intention? So intention was what he said yesterday, is that he intends to play for the New York Jets. Deal's not official. Depending on what side you want to believe, compensation has not been figured out yet. But the other I word from 2021 was immunization. Remember when he was asked if he was vaccinated and he said he was immunized, and then the Green Bay media did not have the wherewithal to give a follow-up question to what the hell does immunized mean when I'm asking you if you're vaccinated? That's a thing. So could Aaron Rodgers be spinning the block again on choosing his words carefully, because this gives him some leeway? I intend to play for the New York Jets. That's not a guarantee. That's not definitive. We can take that word intention and run with it, but that's not a confirmation. Not only because there's no deal in place, but because there's an intention. That means, hey, I plan to do that. But now if you go into the whole thing of that wish list, intention makes a lot of sense. I intend to play for the New York Jets if they give me the players I want. They already brought in Alan Lazard. Cool. I still want Odell. I think you should go get Randall Cobb and Mercedes Lewis. Do that, and I'll play for you. But as of right now, I intend to play for you. It's my intention. So I think there's going to be a lot to pay attention there with Aaron Rodgers. there's a lot of wherewithal in terms of what his word usage is. He's been very good at this. You know, the whole immunization thing, that was certainly polarizing as we were in the middle of a pandemic, in a quarantine. But I think at some point the deal will get done. There's a lot of talk of whether the compensation are already been figured out. And I know a lot of it has come down to, who do you believe? Do you believe Aaron Rodgers, or do you believe the blue check boys and girls? I'll leave that up to you. But there is not a lot more there to report on today anyway. NFL has just been a lot of mid-signing. Giants are making a lot of moves, but nothing that I would take seriously. I mean, they brought back Darius Slayton and Paris Campbell, if you care about that. Orlando Brown went to the Bengals, if you care about that. The Eagles were able to get Darius Slay back and Fletcher Cox. So they kind of brought back two of their defensive stalwarts, so they kind of set there. Let's see. Yeah, that's about it for that. Let's see if we can find one more thing before we slide up out of here. List. Yeah, try to keep a list of all the sports stuff. Try to keep it all locked up together. So let's see. No, it's pretty quiet. Yeah, everything's about March Madness, so we'll take that. Lonzo Ball is a thing. As a former Chicago Bulls fan, I don't really have too much to say on that. It really doesn't matter. But I think the main thing, if you're talking about NFL, you're waiting for what the hell's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers in terms of the compensation. If you're talking NBA, you're talking about the NBA MVP voting, how that's looking. You're looking at what Steph Curry's been able to do coming off injuries. It's a lot of moving and shaking in the NBA. I think it's going to be a lot of college basketball in the NBA the rest of the week, unless we get something moving with Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson. So I will take that cue and wrap this up. I appreciate those who are able to pull up. I appreciate those who are able to tap in. Whether you're catching this live or on the replay, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel. Try to build something here. And I appreciate y'all. And I will be back here to wrap up the week on a Friday edition of Timeline T. So for the Sam D, I'm Sam Deuce May Jr. Peace.